But I want to get down to what underpins this issue of dignity. Why is it so important? What comes out of our faith to ground dignity to be one of the most important things we as spiritual beings can offer? Fagmeda, starting within Islam, why is it so important to offer dignity to another human being?
First of all, I believe that all human beings are born with dignity, with pureness, which we call fitra. And, God is a very oft forgiving God. He forgives you for whatever you feel you have done wrong or right in your life. So, first of all, people like to judge, but we forget that we were born pure and we are just a body that's been borrowed, been lent to some other people. We will one day go back to God, and God will ask you, what have you done to your body? Explain to me what you have done. But simply I believe, that we all are born pure, and Islam is a very good example of that.
So in Islam, we are born pure in the image of God, and only God will judge us.
Exactly.
Yvette, let's move across to Christianity. Slight difference there, in the sense in Christianity, in some groups we're born to sin. So how would you pick up that question?
I think the key word for me in trying to describe dignity from a theological perspective would be personhood. Essentially, when a person is denied full personhood, that then it justifies to some degree some injustice or something that is wicked or evil done to that person. Essentially, I'm an African American, and we come from a history of being chattel slaves in this country. And to justify chattel slavery, it had to be determined that we were not fully human. We were 2/3 human, and the rest of us was other. And the end result of that is that when we were sold or we were lynched or we were burned or whatever, it hadn't happened to a full person. There's a justification when personhood is denied. Oftentimes what happens in this business of reducing people to a place of not having their inalienable rights, it is to steal from them their personhood and somehow to describe them as something less than what they should be, essentially in comparison to others. So dignity, in my thinking, from a theological standpoint, means first to return all people to the image of God. We have got to return all people. As people say all the time, God didn't make Adam and Steve, God made Adam and Eve. My response to that, well then who made Steve? Because Steve exists. And Steve is also made in the image of God. When we begin with that, then we can move forward.
JP, coming from another Christian tradition, Anglican, anything you'd want to add to that?
I always look at the creation account at the beginning of the Christian Bible. And every day we have this story told to us that it was the beginning and the end of the first day. And when God creates whatever was within that day, God says, it is good. Except when God creates the first human being. Then God says, it is very good. Very good. And when I was created, God looked at me and said, it is very good. And when every one of us was created, God said, it is very good. And God rejoices in who we are. And there can be no greater dignity than that.
So out of a Christian tradition, out of Abrahamic traditions, we're getting made in the image of God, the beauty of that creation. And to give thanks to God, to honor God, we need to give dignity to all his creation. Let us move out of the Abrahamic again into Hinduism. And Swamiji, It's a little different there, not just made in the image of God, a bit more than that.
Really, Hinduism is an ocean, so there is not one vision. But what I am going to tell here, it is mainly the vision of Vedanta, what we call Vedanta. In Vedanta, we say, Sarvam Brahmamayam. That means that everything is perverted by the absolute that we call God in religion. So if everything is perverted by God, God is most dignified being, if we can say the supreme being. So that supreme being is present, is everywhere in everything that exists. In Hinduism, we don't have that notion of creation, just like in Bible or maybe in Quran or so, but that experience of unity is there. And as I am a human being, I like to be dignified, if I can say. I like to be respected, so I should also respect everybody else I am telling. So just like, not image of God, just as the manifestation of God.
We are part of God.
We are not only part of God, we are God.
We are
God. There's one song which says, Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham. Existence, consciousness, and beatitude, Ananda is bliss, you can say, I am Shiva, I am Shiva.
So
Shiva can be God.
to deny dignity here is to deny God, to actually be affront directly to God.
Of course, to deny dignity is it is a proof of ignorance. And so we should learn, and by learning, we should discover that everything is God.
Pablo, can I turn to you? You grew up in Mexico, I believe Roman Catholic by upbringing. Again, where do you get your sense of dignity? Where do you ground it?
Yeah, I think first I learned the word dignity that I learned from my mother and from the religious beliefs in my family. But I think when I learned the most about dignity is when I started to work with young people living with HIV and with people living with HIV. Because then I understood that there are two ways of dignity which are almost the same. One is the one given by your religious beliefs, and one is given by your rights as a human being. So for me, when I understood that dignity for me is to be empowered to do something, coming from the self-respect and the self-empowerment, that's when I learned how beautiful is the word dignity, which is not a word, but it's more an action. And I think that's when I started on working for that also, not just for me, but for other young people living with HIV.
So here we have, grounded out of religion, out of faith, the importance of dignity, why it's so important. All the world's great religions, as far as I can work out, sign up to the golden rule, compassion, out of that must come dignity. So what has gone wrong? Why does religion not get it?